Estimates will always be wrong. Once you accept that estimates are in fact guesstimates and that they are likely to be wrong, it's extremely liberating. Let me share some thoughts and insights. Very often what happens is that there is some work that needs to be done, and a senior member in the organization would take a quick look at it and give an estimate of, let's say, 4 weeks. And based on this 4-week estimate, the work is prioritized and allocated to a team. Now the team have no clue how to actually do this work in 4 weeks' time. And to make matters worse, the go-to-market plans and customer communications have been set in motion based on this 4-week estimate. Now there are two basic issues with this approach. One is that the estimation has been done by somebody who's not actually doing the work, and the person who's done this estimate might have very different or much better skill sets than the team who are actually going to do the work. And the second issue is that this estimation was based on a back of the envelope calculation, and it might not have factored in all the things that are required to take that capability to market. Anyway, the team have this 4-week target on their back, and they start putting in best effort to try and meet this 4-week deadline. And to make matters worse, what's most likely to happen that there will be unplanned leaves, there will be some sick leave, there will be infrastructure issues, and there's going to be scope creep because the team do not really understand who's going to use this feature and what they're expecting from the feature. And because of the scope creep, it takes even longer. Based on my experience working with product teams for over 2 decades, a couple of best practices that I have observed are, one is that the team that's going to do the work should actually do the working estimates. It's fine for a senior member to provide a budgetary estimate, but the team should actually get together, understand what's involved, basically do the elaboration process that we talked about in one of the earlier videos, understand the scope of work, understand who's going to use it, understand what it takes to take that feature to market, and come up with working estimates. And based on those estimates, they can have discussions with senior stakeholders to see if there are things that they could remove from scope to reduce the timeline, and also if there are alternate approaches that they could take to try and reduce the effort. The second best practice is to do relative sizing rather than absolute sizing. When you estimate a user story in person hours, it gives a false sense of security and accuracy. But it is far easier to do relative sizing than absolute sizing. So for example, let's say there are 2 user stories, user story 1 and user story 2. Rather than saying that user story 1 is going to take 3 person hours and user story 2 is going to take 4.5 person hours, it's much easier to say that user story 2 is bigger than user story 1. And a technique that gamifies this concept is planning poker. And if played right, planning poker is extremely fun. It involves the whole team, and you get surprisingly accurate results. And planning poker is something that we will explore in next week's video. The third best practice is that when teams get comfortable working with each other, understand their strengths and limitations, they get much better at estimating as a team. And this makes a really strong case for having persistent teams. And this is again a concept that we will be exploring in one of the upcoming videos. Now, if your product teams are facing challenges with estimations, give me a shout and I would love to have a conversation. If you like this video, do give it a like. Thank you for watching and have a good one.